One of you can unmute and tell me respiration in plants. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay, okay. Let us begin the respiration chapter. So everybody knows what exactly respiration means. Everybody respires. There are two types of organisms. One type which require oxygen. So these all are called as aerobes, and which can respire in absence of oxygen. They are called as anaerobes, right? So what we are, human beings, aerobes or anaerobes? Answer. Do
Aerob.
you? Yes, we require oxygen.
Aerobes,
So
ma'am.
yes, some of the microorganisms they are anaerobic. So all living organisms, most of the organisms they are aerobic type. So the respiration which they show is called as aerobic type of respiration. All living organisms need energy for carrying out daily life activities, be it absorption, transport, movement, reproduction, or even breathing. So for everything, energy is required, and we have learned that from where we get the energy. Last step chapter, by the from the food, from where we get the food, from the process of photosynthesis. How
Photosynthesis.
the photosynthesis takes place in presence of light, green plants, they and some other cyanobacteria type of organisms which show the presence of photosynthetic pigment in them in presence of light using water, they and CO2 from the air, they prepare the food material in the form of carbohydrates like glucose, sucrose, starch, etc. The food material. So every all green plants and cyanobacteria they prepare food material. So remember, don't forget the first process, first chapter, that is previous chapter which we have learned, photosynthesis. Because immediately I have taken this chapter, the reason behind it is so many things are related to the previous chapter, that means photosynthesis. So that's why this is what introductory part I am showing you. So this photosynthesis and respiration both are very important processes. So animals obtain their food from plants directly. These are called as herbivores, and indirectly they are called as carnivores. And some are the saprobes like mushrooms, which are dependent on the dead organic material. So everybody needs energy which they take from the food, and the food they receive from the process of photosynthesis. Then what is important is that ultimately all the food that is required for life processes comes from photosynthesis. And now we are going to study how this respiration takes place and what are the organelles present or involved in the process of respiration. So cellular respiration, which takes place at the cell level, that we are going to study. What does it mean? This is nothing but the mechanism of breakdown of food material within the cell to release energy and the trapping of this energy for the synthesis of ATP. So you have learned last time the process of photosynthesis this year. Now this time, what we are going to study, respiration, how it is dependent on photosynthesis. Because as I told you just now, that different activities which we do every day in everyday life, day to day life, or starting from we wake up till we sleep, whatever the activities, and then for that we need energy, and that energy which we use, this energy, it comes from the food which we get by the process of photosynthesis directly or indirectly. And that food when is broken down, which is in the form of complex compounds, then that oxidation within the cell which it takes place, that releases considerable amount of energy, and that is called respiration. So breaking down of carbon bonds of complex compounds through oxidation within the cells, leading to release of considerable amount of energy, is called respiration. Try to understand this definition in the simpler way. Now you know that food is a type of complex compound, and that complex type of compound is broken down into simpler ones, and by which process? By using oxygen. So this is what addition of oxygen, so we can consider it as oxidation within the cell, and that's why cellular respiration we are calling it as. Now in human beings also, what we do, we inhale air which contains oxygen, And then what is exhaled? CO2 is exhaled. Same way, plants also, they show this process. If you remember last time I told you the photorespiration. So you recollect that part. So plants also they respire and animals also respire. So in case of plants and in case of animals, in little bit different way, organs included are different. So, but the process is similar. That is breaking down of complex compounds which contain carbon bonds in that, because carbohydrates they contain carbon. So these carbon-carbon bonds which are in the complex form, they are broken down by using oxidation process within the cell, which leads to the release of the compounds that are oxidized during this process are known as respiratory substrates. Whichever the compounds are oxidized during this process, they are called as respiratory substrates. Some of the important respiratory substrates which yield energy in respiration are carbohydrates. So carbohydrates are the principal respiratory substrates in plants. Now, in the process of photosynthesis, do you remember what is the food in the form of carbohydrates, right? What is that? Glucose, right? So generally that is the primary, which is most usable form of food, you can say, easily can be broken down. Normal. Normally it is considered to be the carbohydrate, that is glucose in the form of carbohydrates, or carbohydrates in the form of glucose, which can be easily broken down. So first, if it is disaccharide, first it gets converted into monosaccharide. If it is polysaccharide, then also it gets converted into monosaccharide like glucose, and that is the way which is used, that compound or that substrate is used by plants for the process of respiration. Now, not only carbohydrates, but along with that, some other compounds also, like proteins and fats, organic acids, they also can be the respiratory substrates. So, along with carbohydrates, these proteins, fats, organic acids also can be used for the process of respiration in some plants. So, remember that. Now, how this ATP is broken down? This ATP is the most usable form of energy, and that can be easily broken down. So wherever energy is required or needed, that ATP is utilized by breaking down it in the two forms, like ATP is what? Adenosine triphosphate, which can easily get converted into adenosine diphosphate, and then inorganic phosphate, that is phosphate is released. So that simpler form of ATP. So easy way of energy currency is considered to be ATP. So ATP acts as the energy currency of the cell. So you remember, so this is also where this ATP is produced. You have learned in the previous standards that we are going to discuss that part also. So as you know, plants also breathe. Last time while we were studying the photorespiration, we mentioned this part. Then plants, unlike animals, they do not have any specialized organs for gaseous exchange, but they have stomata and lenticels for this purpose. Now you have learned stomata. What is that stomata? Stomata are present. These are the openings present on the upper and lower surface of the leaves, right? So through which the gaseous exchange takes place. Through the stomata, gases enter like CO2 for the required for the process of photosynthesis, and the oxygen which is released out, that is also takes place. That means gaseous exchange takes place. These openings called as stomata on the leaves as well as green stem, etc. Now like stomata, few more openings are seen on some other part of the plant body. That means lenticels are also openings which are present on the green stem, or where these lenticels, that means openings, also help in the exchange of gases, as well as they are present. Such type of lenticels are, or the openings are present on the roots also, especially those roots which come above the soil surface, in the area where there is low water logging conditions, or you can say marshy area where there is very less availability of oxygen. In those areas, these mangroves trees, such type of mangroves, they show special type of roots which come above the water surface for only this purpose of gaseous exchange, get oxygen. So they are also called as breathing roots. So such type of um, openings are present on the plant body. But in case of animals, lungs and other, this which is considered to be the respiratory organ, and along with that lungs, entire respiratory system involves different type of organs in it. Now, there are several reasons why plants can get along with respiratory organs. First reason is what? Each plant part takes care of its own gaseous exchange needs, and plants do not present great demands for gas exchange. This, compared to animals, their requirement of gaseous exchange is very less, and whatever the part of the plants are present, they take care of this. They on their own, they do that process of gaseous exchange. Roots, stem, leaves respire at rates far lower than animals. These parts of the plant body, that means plants also respire, but their rate of respiration is very low as compared to animals. Now, the complete process of respiration, this is what? Nothing but the combustion of glucose, which produces CO2 and water as end products, yield energy, most of which is given out as heat. So, what are the things which are shown on the left hand side of the reaction? This is what? Glucose, that means the sugar, C6H12O6, in presence of oxygen. This respiration takes place, aerobic respiration, so oxygen. Then what is the result after breaking down of the food material in using oxygen? That is CO2 is released through the respiration. You know that CO2 is released out, exhaled. Water, respiratory water, that is called as, that is produced, and most of the energy which is released, that is given out in the form of heat. Most of the energy which is given out, it as heat form. So this is what the process of respiration in the form of chemical reaction. You always remember this reaction. In this energy, if this energy is to be useful to the cell, it should be able to utilize it to synthesize other molecules that the cell requires. The strategy that plant cells uses it is to catabolize the glucose molecule in such a way that not all the liberated energy goes out as heat. And the key is to oxidize glucose not in one step but in several small steps, enabling some steps to be just large enough such that the energy released can be coupled to ATP synthesis. See, what does it mean? Means, as we just saw the chemical reaction of respiration, where the in the process using oxygen, in presence of oxygen, that food material is gets converted into simpler form products like the gases like CO2, they are exhaled, and water is produced, and whatever the energy is produced, that is generally in the form of heat, and that is given out. So to avoid the release of energy as a waste or the heat to go out of the system, what happens? This cellular respiration takes place in a stepwise manner, in small steps, and so that that amount of energy can be stored in the form of ATP, and it should not be wasted as heat. So that's why this is the purpose that cellular respiration takes place in small steps. So several small steps are included. During the process of respiration, oxygen is utilized and CO2 and water energy are released out as products. So what is combustion? That is nothing but the process of burning something, or rapid chemical combination of a substance with oxygen involving production of heat and light. See, in the diagram you can see this is the fuel, this is the oxygen which is used, and what happens? What is really oxygen is taken inside, and through the respiration what is released out, exhausted out, what is released out? CO2, and that energy generally heat. That is what happens, that energy is released out in the form of heat. This is what considered to be combustion. So process of respiration, when it takes place in presence of oxygen, that can be considered as the combustion reaction, which requires oxygen. So it is nothing but the normal process, normal word which we use as combustion, that is taken place in presence of oxygen. Now there are two types of organisms you must have learned somewhere. That is, for example, as I mentioned just now, that is aerobic and anaerobic. As you know that aerobes, they require oxygen, but there are anaerobes which are of two types. One type is facultative and the other type is obligate. Obligate anaerobes are the organisms which can grow only in complete absence of molecular oxygen. Means they cannot survive if there is oxygen. So in complete absence of oxygen, only they can survive. These are called as obligate anaerobes. But facultative anaerobes, they can grow when there is availability or the presence of oxygen to some extent, and they can show growth only in absence of oxygen. So they are considered to be facultative. They are not the aerobes that can grow only in absence of there. They can also grow in presence of oxygen, but they show faster growth in absence of oxygen. So they are called as facultative anaerobes. That means depending on the condition, they show respiration and they can grow. Okay. Now the first step in the process of respiration which is involved is called as glycolysis. Now what is the meaning of glycolysis? Which explains, glycos means sugar and lysis means splitting. So when sugar molecule which is in the form of glucose that is used for the splitting, that means that sugar which is considered to be the complex form gets converted into simpler form by splitting it, and that is the Greek word which means splitting of the glucose molecule. That is what glycolysis. Lysis is, or lysis is splitting, glucose is sugar. Now there are different steps, as I mentioned, that the process of respiration takes place in small several steps. Why? To avoid this loss of energy in the form of heat. So that whatever the energy is released, that can be stored, and that can be stored in the form of ATP. So that's why glycolysis is the first step which can be considered to be common step for both aerobic as well as anaerobic type of respiration, and that occurs in the cytosol. That means the cytoplasm of that cell. So that part of the cytosol part of the cell, that is what this first step which is common, that is called as glycolysis, takes place. So you understand the meaning of glycolysis. Now this process, first of all, the sequence of reaction which takes place in glycolysis were first of all traced out by German scientists, a group of scientists called Emden, Meyerhof and Paranus. And so this process of glycolysis is also named after their names, that is EMP pathway. The first letter of each name of these scientists is used to honor them, and so that's why this is also known as EMP pathway, which means Emden, Meyerhof and Paranus, group of German scientists. They first of all explain the sequence of reactions taking place in this process of glycolysis. Okay, first step, that means sucrose is converted into glucose and fructose by the enzyme invertase, and these two monosaccharides rapidly enter the glycolytic pathway. As I told you, if it is disaccharide, first it gets splitted, converted into monosaccharides. When sucrose is the substrate present, then that is disaccharide. So it should be converted into simpler forms again. So compound or complex form of material or the substance is converted into simpler forms. So disaccharides are converted into monosaccharides rapidly in presence of the enzyme invertase, and then glucose and fructose are phosphorylated to give rise to glucose 6-phosphate in presence of hexokinase. Now to understand this reaction, instead of explaining the steps involved in it, first we'll talk about this. Whatever the page number you have, you just open this reactions of glycolytic sequence, that is glycolysis. It is given in your textbook. I don't know the page number, it's not with me right now. So open that page which shows this diagram where glycolysis is the process which shows all the sequence of reactions involved in it. So it will start from this, the simpler way. First I will explain, and then I will explain it in detail, which is given in your textbook. See, glucose, as I told you, if it is sucrose, then that is the disaccharide, which is the complex form. So first it should be converted into monosaccharide, as I told you. Then this monosaccharide, what are the monosaccharides then? Fructose and glucose. From sucrose, fructose and glucose are produced. Now this glucose, that fructose or glucose. Now glucose, we will see use this glucose, which is considered the simplest form of the product from where we can get the energy. So this glucose gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate. You remember all the sequence, you learn it by heart, as I told you first, because all these pathways and reactions you first understand and then learn it by heart. Glucose is getting converted into glucose 6-phosphate in presence of the enzyme hexokinase. See, when you write these reactions or pathways or cycles, here though the names of enzymes are given, for your understanding, these are not expected to write in the exam. So, but you try to understand these names of the enzymes, as if you remember the biomolecules enzyme part we have taken in detail, how these are named. So you can remember it very easily. It is hexose type of sugar. So the name has come, hexokinase. So glucose gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate. Glucose 6-phosphate gets converted to fructose 6-phosphate in presence of phosphoglucose isomerase. Now isomer, you know the meaning, similar forms. So this is what the word of the enzyme name, that is isomerase. Now in the first step, what happens, this glucose gets, when converted into glucose 6-phosphate, one amount of energy that is utilized and that gets converted into ADP. So broken down of ATP is done. Okay, then fructose 6-phosphate, when gets converted into fructose 1,6-phosphate, here is the phosphofructose kinase type of enzyme. Again, in this reaction, you can see ATP gets converted into ADP. So first and third steps, if you understand, the kinase is the name common here, right? Here also ATP gets converted into ADP. Here also ATP gets converted into ADP, and here both the similar type of reactions, only the substrate which is used here, this is different. So that's why this name also gets different name. So fructose 6-phosphate gets converted into fructose 1,6 diphosphate or biphosphate, one and the same. So now this is the step where fructose 1,6 diphosphate, which is, now you know glucose is contains how many carbons. Try to understand how many carbons are present in glucose molecule. You can unmute and answer, doesn't matter, because until and unless you know the basic things,
6.
afterwards you will not understand. Ha, is it right? 6 carbon. Just now I told hexose, that means 6 carbon compound. So this glucose, when gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate, then to fructose 6-phosphate, then to fructose 1,6 biphosphate. Then here this 6 carbon compound gets splitted into 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound, one in presence of enzyme aldolase. One molecule is called as phosphoglyceraldehyde and the other one is called as dihydroxyacetone phosphate. GLAP, that means glyceraldehyde phosphate. This is also known as glyceraldehyde phosphate. Okay, 3 3-PGAL. This is also called as 3-PGAL in the photosynthesis reaction. I mentioned this word, right? So PGAL, or you can use the word GLAP, that is the glyceraldehyde phosphate. So this is 3-carbon compound, and DHAP, that is dihydroxy acetone phosphate. This is also 3-carbon compound. So this step, the fourth step, is important, that you need to remember that in presence of aldolase, splitting of this 6-carbon compound, that is fructose 1,6-diphosphate or biphosphate, takes place, and 2 molecules of 3-carbon compounds are produced. One is aldehyde group, the other is ketone group. But this ketone again immediately gets converted into aldehyde group. That means 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde. 3 is the position. So that's why I'm using the word 3. So 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, or you can just remember glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which is 3-carbon compound. So you can remember now at this stage, 2 molecules of 3-carbon compounds are produced from a single 6-carbon compound, that is glucose. Then what happens? These 2 molecules here, they are converted into 1,3-biphosphoglyceraldehyde. That position is changed, and during that step, what has happened? NAD gets converted into NADH, and in presence of hydrogenase enzyme. So hydrogen is added, so automatically it is showing NADH. As there are 2 molecules, you can show here 2 NADH, because here now 2 molecules are there of 3-carbon compound. So 2 NAD, 2 PI, that means inorganic phosphate, and that gives rise to NADH, 2 molecules of NADH. So here this is the molecule which is produced, that you remember at this step. Then 1,3-biphosphate glycerate or glyceraldehyde, you can use any name. The glyceraldehyde gets converted into 3-phosphoglycerate with the release of 2 molecules of ATP. Here you can remember, here 2 molecules of ADP get converted into 2 molecules of ATP. Why 2? Because here 2 molecules are there. So here also it is shown as 2 molecules, because 2 molecules are required. So 2 molecules of ADP to get converted into ATP. So phosphorylation reaction is taking place, isn't it? So the name of enzyme is also phosphoglycerate kinase is the enzyme. That not required, the name of the enzyme is not required, but you try to understand which type of enzyme is used. Now when 3-phosphoglycerate or 3-phosphoglyceraldehyde, you can say glycerate, is getting converted into 2-phosphoglycerate, the position of the carbon gets changed here, so the names are like this: phosphoglycerate mutase. And then 2-phosphoglycerate gets converted into phosphoenol pyruvate, and then to pyruvic acid. This is also 3-carbon compound. Here in the last step, again 2 molecules of ATP are produced. So this is the simpler way. Just remember in sequence. You just get by heart, do it by heart if you cannot remember. Glucose to glucose 6-phosphate to fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-diphosphate, then splitting, then phosphoglyceraldehyde and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, then 2 molecules of PGL gets converted into 1,3-PGA, then to 3-PGA, then 2-PGA, and then PEP, and then pyruvic acid PA. These are all short forms I just used. Okay. Now in detail, whatever is given in your textbook, I will add. And you remember how many steps are shown? 10 steps are shown. If you see, first again, I will repeat this process. Glucose, here in detail it is given, that is the 6-carbon compound. So that's why I showed you here also hexo, that is 6-carbon, hexokinase. In this first step itself, in presence of manganese ions, and ATP is utilized to form ADP, and this glucose gets converted into glucose 6-phosphate. This glucose 6-phosphate gets converted into fructose 6-phosphate in presence of enzyme isomerase. Glucose and fructose, these are similar. compound. So isomers of each other. Only this carbon, uh, this also 6 carbon, this also 6 carbon. Only the type of sugar is different. As that's why it is similar, so showing that's why isomer. Okay, isomerase type of enzyme. Then fructose 6-phosphate gets converted into fructose 1,6-phosphate. Again, one more amount of ATP is utilized. So this is the reaction again in presence of Mn ions and ATP. This conversion of fructose 6-phosphate into fructose 1,6-diphosphate, or this is also called as bi. Di and bi one are the same. So remember, di is 2, bi also 2. So this is also 6 carbon compound. Now here is the splitting at the fourth step. That is, in presence of aldolase enzyme, you can see that this 1,6-diphosphate gets converted into glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate and dihydroxyacetone phosphate, each one of 3 carbon compound in presence of triose glycerate type of enzyme. So just remember that splitting at the fourth step into 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound. Now this DHAP again gets converted into this glyceraldehyde type of molecule. They are again isomer of each other. So DHAP gets converted into PGAL, that means GLAP, one and the same, glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate. So 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphates here now. Here it is shown 2 molecules of glyceraldehyde 3-phosphate, which then gets converted into 1,3-biphosphoglycerate or glyceraldehyde or glyceric acid, you can say. Their position is just changed. Okay, where here 2 molecules of NAD get converted into 2 molecules of NADH. One more addition. So as there are 2 molecules here, now everything you can show here with the help of 2, because here from one glucose molecule 2 molecules of 3 carbon compounds are produced. So each molecule requires this 1 molecule of NAD. So 2 molecules of NAD getting converted into 2 molecules of NADH2 or NADH, you can see here, say here. And then 1,3-biphosphoglycerate gets converted into 3-phosphoglycerate. This is just the change in the position of the carbon in presence of the manganese ions, Mn ions, and here you can remember at the 7th step there is formation of ATP, synthesis of ATP. So this is the phosphorylation step, you can say, because there is addition of phosphate in ADP, so there is formation of ATP. Di gets converted into tri. So 2 molecules of ADP gets converted into 2 molecules of ATP. So this is also very important step. You remember 6th step where NADH2 is produced. 7th step, first molecule of ATP is produced. Then 3-phosphoglycerate when gets converted into 2-phosphoglycerate, and then here just addition of water, and then 2-phosphoglycerate gets converted into phosphoenol pyruvate, 2 molecules. There release of water molecule in presence of Mn ions, and here at the last step you can see 2-phosphoenol pyruvate, PEP. This is also known as PEP, 5-phosphoenol pyruvate, which is 3 carbon compound in presence of Mn ions, that gets converted into again 2 pyruvic acid, that is getting ADP converted into ATP. So these steps, at what step what takes place, what happens, that you need to remember. I will show you all the steps in the reaction form. Either you can remember the reactions in sequence, or better you just remember this sequence. Minimum this thing you need to write. Okay, that means glucose, glucose 6-phosphate to fructose 6-phosphate to fructose 1,6-phosphate, then splitting into 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound as PGAL and DHAP. This DHAP again gets converted into PGAL, so 2 molecules of PGAL are present, which gets converted into 1,3-di-PGA, then 3-PGA, then 2-PGA, then PEP and PA, that is pyruvic acid or pyruvate, it is also called as. So it's not very difficult. Just these steps you need to remember, where there is splitting at the fourth step. Then first and third step, ATP is utilized to get converted into ADP. Whereas After splitting, when 1,3-B PGL gets converted to PGA, here is the first ATP produced, synthesized, that is phosphorylation takes place. And the last step, 10th step, when PEP gets converted into PA, that is pyruvate or pyruvic acid, there ATP is produced. So these steps you need to remember. One, first, then third. Here the numbers are given. First, third, at fourth step, splitting. Then this is fifth and sixth step. This is the sixth step where NADH2 is produced. And then seventh and last 10th step, you can remember there is synthesis of ATP molecule. Now, how to show all these sequential reactions in the reaction form, that I will show you. Whatever is the explanation, that is just in the explanatory form it is shown here. Now I will show you how it can be written in the form of reactions. So that I will tell you later, but just try to understand here. First step, how it is shown. Glucose gets converted into fructose. Glucose gets converted into fructose 6 phosphate and then into fructose 6 1,6 diphosphate or biphosphate. Just this plus this, or in this sequence only, if you remember, that will always help you. Though you don't write these enzymes, it doesn't matter, but this sequence, synthesis of ATP and synthesis utilization of ATP, that is very, very important. That is first step and third step, ATP is utilized. Fourth step, splitting of 6 carbon compound into 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound. Then fifth step, immediately at this stage, there is formation of NADH2. And then seventh and 10th last step, there is the synthesis of ATP. You remember like this, okay? Then next, when there is no, so at the end of glycolysis, what is done? Pyruvic acid is produced. So one molecule of glucose gets converted into how many molecules of pyruvic acid at the end of the reaction? 2 molecules. Glucose is 6 carbon compound, pyruvic acid is 3 carbon compound. So from one molecule, that is glucose, 6 carbon compound, 2 molecules of 3 carbon compound, that means pyruvic acid, you can say, or pyruvate, that is the end product of glycolysis. So splitting of glucose into pyruvate or pyruvic acid, you can say, takes place at the end of this glycolysis reaction. Now, in case of anaerobic organisms also, this glycolysis is the common step. So pyruvic acid is the key product of glycolysis, and this is the common step. Glycolysis is the common step for both aerobic as well as anaerobic type of reactions. Fermentation takes place under aerobic conditions in many of the prokaryotes and unicellular eukaryotes, as we have already discussed this part. For the complex oxidation of glucose to CO2 and water, however, organisms adopt Krebs cycle, which is also called as aerobic respiration. Before coming to that aerobic respiration, just we will have a look about this fermentation process, that is anaerobic. Little difference, how it is different than the aerobic. So in fermentation, what happens? For example, in yeast, if it is taking place, that is nothing but the incomplete oxidation of glucose, which takes place under anaerobic conditions. That means in the absence of oxygen, and where pyruvic acid gets converted in the next step into CO2 and ethanol. I think you have understood here this part. Up to this, that means the formation of pyruvic acid, that means the first step, that is glycolysis. The end product of glycolysis is what? Pyruvic acid. So up to this is common for both aerobic type of respiration as well as anaerobic type of respiration. That means fermentation is a type of anaerobic respiration. So the enzyme pyruvic acid decarboxylase and alcohol dehydrogenase catalyze these reactions, and in some bacteria lactic acid is formed from pyruvic acid in presence of lactate dehydrogenase, whereas the reducing agent is NADH plus H means I am using NADH2. Just now I showed you. And at what step that is produced in glycolysis. So this is what in both fermentation, not much energy is released. Less than even 7% of the energy of the in the glucose is released, and not all of it is trapped as high energy bonds of ATP. That means whatever the amount of energy is released from the glucose molecule in case of anaerobic type of respiration or fermentation, you can say, or lactic acid fermentation, it may be lactic acid fermentation or alcoholic fermentation, the amount of energy which is released is very less as compared to aerobic type of respiration. And also that whatever the energy is released which is trapped in the form of ATP, that ATP amount is also very less. That we will discuss at the end of both when we will complete aerobic as well as anaerobic. But this is what you need to remember in case of anaerobic type of respiration. Glycolysis is the first step which is common for, up to this is the first step which is common for both, means aerobic as well as anaerobic. Now we are talking about anaerobic. This is the glucose C6H12O6. By glycolysis, this is the pyruvic acid. In case of lactic acid fermentation, this pyruvic acid gets converted into lactic acid using NADH2, and here NAD is released. So this is the lactic acid produced. Whereas in alcoholic fermentation, this step up to this it is common for both, and this pyruvic acid, it releases CO2 and acetaldehyde is first produced, and then that gets converted into ethanol. Ethanol is a type of alcohols, you know that everybody. So that's why this is the step here shown, which is different than this. Here, in presence of lactic acid enzymes, this lactic acid fermentation takes place from pyruvic acid in lactic acid fermentation, whereas in alcoholic fermentation, this is the middle step in between, where acetaldehyde is produced, and then from acetaldehyde ethanol is produced with the release of CO2. So first pyruvic acid gets converted into acetaldehyde with the release of CO2, and then it gets converted into ethanol. So these 2 points are included in your textbook. So just open that page and remember this point. Yeast poison themselves to death when the concentration of alcohol reaches about 13%. So this is just extra information you can remember. So it becomes poisonous. Yeast cells, they become poisonous and they lead to death of the cells itself because of the increase in the concentration of alcohol. If it reaches up to 13%, then the cell itself, that yeast cell itself, becomes poisonous, leading to the death of the cell. Aerobic respiration is a process that leads to a complete oxidation of organic substances in the presence of oxygen and release CO2, water, and large amount of energy present in the substrate. This type of respiration is most common in higher organisms. Now, this aerobic respiration, now we are just talking little part about this, about aerobic respiration. We just discussed the two steps or two types of anaerobic respiration, that is fermentation, lactic acid fermentation, as well as alcoholic fermentation. Now, the aerobic part we will discuss, where in case of fermentation it is incomplete oxidation, whereas in case of aerobic respiration it is complete oxidation of the glucose. Here, aerobic respiration takes place within mitochondria, you know, that part of the cell, plant cell, animal cell. Have you learned this part in the cell structure and organization, if you remember? So, pyruvic acid is trapped from the cytoplasm to the mitochondria. So, that means glycolysis, where it glycolysis takes place, as just we have already discussed, that it takes place in cytosol, that means cytoplasm of the plant cell, isn't it? Plant cell, animal cell, whatever, we are talking about plant, so I'm saying plant cell. So cytoplasm of the plant cell, or you can say cytosol, there is the glycolysis that is EMP pathway, that is the first step or the common step for both aerobic as well as anaerobic type of respiration takes place. And the end product of glycolysis is what? Pyruvic acid. So this pyruvic acid which is present in the cytoplasm is transported to the mitochondria, and then the further events take place which are involved in the aerobic respiration. So important events involved in the aerobic respiration are: first is complete oxidation of pyruvic acid by the stepwise removal of all the hydrogen atoms, leaving free molecules of CO2. Now, you always remember oxidation is either addition of oxygen or removal of hydrogen atoms, right? You always remember that. So the passing of electrons removed as a part of hydrogen atoms to molecular oxygen with simultaneous synthesis of ATP. If you remember, during the process of photosynthesis also, we have learned that electron carriers and all. So how this, while transferring the electrons from one electron carrier to the another ones, that amount of energy which is released, that is stored in the form of ATP, we have already discussed it. If you remember, recollect whatever we have learned. Okay, so we will just discuss the structure of mitochondria. We will revise it. We have already learned this structure in the cell structure and organization, right? So I think we have learned it. So we will revise this part of structure of mitochondria, which shows the two layers. Outer layer is smooth, whereas inner layer is folded. Until and unless you understand and realize the structure of mitochondria, you will not understand where exactly the process of respiration takes place. As you have learned photosynthesis, where the most important organelle included in photosynthesis is the chloroplast. So we learned again, revise the structure of chloroplast, whereas in the process of respiration, which organelle is involved, the most important one as mitochondria. So we are revising the structure of mitochondria, which shows the two layers, outer which is smooth and inner is folded, and each fold is called as crista. So these are all cristae, and inside which matrix is present. And if you see on these folds, each fold, the oxysomes are present. This is the inner membrane, which shows the folds, and each fold is called as crista. Plural is cristae, and this inner membrane that of the cristae shows the F1 particles or oxysomes. They are also called as, which are considered to be electron carriers, which are having very important role in the cellular respiration, in the next step of cellular respiration, which is that first is glycolysis, which is the common for both aerobic and anaerobic type of respiration, which we have learned already, where the end product of glycolysis is pyruvic acid, and now this pyruvic acid which is produced in the cytosol, that is and now takes entry in the mitochondrial matrix. Okay, where oxidative decarboxylation of this pyruvic acid takes place. Try to understand. Imagine the structure of cell where these all or important organelles are present. Now, what we will concentrate is for this process of respiration is mitochondria. So, from the cytosol of the cell or the cytoplasm where glycolysis has taken place, and the end product of glycolysis is pyruvic acid, that is transported to the respiratory organ, the organelle, which is very important, called as mitochondria, where in mitochondria it is getting entry. Pyruvic acid is entered and transported, and this pyruvic acid is decarboxylated, that is oxidative decarboxylation of pyruvic acid takes place, and from there the next step which is specific in case of aerobic respiration takes place. So the after glycolysis, whatever the remaining steps are there, that these steps are taking means all the remaining reactions are taking place in the mitochondrial matrix. Now I showed you the diagram, I told you the matrix part also, showed you the matrix part also. So this pyruvic acid or pyruvate, which is now transported to the mitochondrial matrix, that is by glycolytic catabolism of carbohydrates in the cytosol, as I told you, in the mitochondrial matrix, when it is transported, it undergoes oxidative decarboxylation by a complex set of reactions catalyzed by pyruvic dehydrogenase. Just understand what exactly happens. Now, in the mitochondrial matrix, I will show you this diagram again from the cytoplasm. This is this pyruvate or pyruvic acid is entering in the mitochondrial matrix, right? Here, acetyl, that is coenzyme, is present. Different types of enzymes are present. Coenzymes are present. So here is the coenzyme present in the mitochondrial matrix, and this pyruvic acid reacts with this coenzyme A, SH, this is called as coenzyme A, and what happens? The word is used, decarboxylation. Now you know decarboxylation means removal of carbon in the form of CO2. So here pyruvic acid is 3 carbon compound. When one is removed in the form of CO2, what will happen? It will get converted into 2 carbon compound. So when pyruvic acid enters or is transported to the mitochondrial matrix, where already coenzyme is present in the mitochondrial matrix, and this reacts with pyruvic acid, and there is decarboxylation as well as oxidative decarboxylation. Means what? Oxidation as well as decarboxylation. Both the things are taking place. Oxidative decarboxylation. Decarboxylation is what? Removal of carbon, that is CO2 is removed or released in the carbon is removed or released in the form of CO2. So this is one thing. And oxidative, so here NAD gets converted into NADH2. NADH plus H, so that's why I'm using the word NADH2. So what happens? Reaction catalyzed by pyruvic dehydrogenase requires the participation of several coenzymes including NAD and coenzyme A. So different types of enzymes are required. NAD is one of the nicotinamide adenine dinucleotide. It gets dehydrogenated and that gets converted into NADH2, and coenzyme A also gets attached to pyruvic acid. At the same time, decarboxylation takes place. So this 3 carbon compound, pyruvic acid, gets converted into 2 carbon compound with the release of 1 carbon molecule, and that is what acetyl coenzyme A. So in the reaction, in the simplest form, it is told pyruvic acid, this is 3 carbon compound, gets converted into acetyl coenzyme A, which is 2 carbon compound, and this is the released carbon, that is the removed carbon in the form of CO2. At the same time, what happens? Coenzyme is reacting, so acetyl coenzyme A is produced. At the same time, NAD is the another coenzyme that gets converted into NADH2. So this reaction is having very important stake in the process of respiration, that is aerobic respiration, because pyruvic acid directly doesn't enter the next step called as Krebs cycle or TCA cycle, but this is the intermediate step called as the connecting link between the glycolysis and Krebs cycle. We are not going to discuss the Krebs cycle, but this is the reaction. Just you remember, pyruvic acid, which reacts with coenzyme A and NAD, which are the enzymes, different types of coenzymes in presence of MGANs, that is pyruvic dehydrogenase enzyme is there. In presence of this enzyme, this pyruvic acid, which is 3 carbon compound, gets converted into 2 carbon compound, that is acetyl coenzyme A, with the release of CO2, that is decarboxylation is taking place. At the same time, this NAD by dehydrogenation or oxidation reaction, NADH2, oxidative decarboxylation is the reaction that is called as decarboxylation, because removal of carbon which is released in the form of CO2, and dehydrogenase is the enzyme where this NAD gets converted into NADH2. So during this process, 2 molecules of NADH are produced from metabolism of 2 molecules of pyruvic acid, which are produced during the glycolysis. So this acetyl coenzyme enters a cyclic pathway called as TCA cycle, more commonly called as Krebs cycle. We are not going to discuss the Krebs cycle today. What we have discussed, that is just the types of respiration, and the another one called as first step of respiration. Which is the first step of respiration? Called as glycolysis, which is